Hello, everyone, and welcome to our event. We're so glad you could join us. I'm Kimberly Schwant, Director of Communications for SNC's Space Systems. We're so excited to welcome you to this briefing where we'll be talking about our unique SNC space station with multiple inflatable habitats and multiple Dream Chaser space planes. You're going to have tons of new photos and videos to see. It's really cool, trust me. We'll also be talking about our plans for low Earth orbit commercialization. The time is now to have more people working and living in space. We want to make space more accessible for everyone, for both people and science. We have a great lineup of speakers. Our owners, SNC Chairwoman and President Erin Osman, SNC CEO Fadi Osman, Steve Lindsay, who's a former shuttle astronaut 5 times and former shuttle commander. He's now our Senior Vice President of Strategy. Neeraj Gupta, who's our Director of Programs for our Advanced Development Group, John Roth, who's our Vice President of Strategy, and Janet Kamandi, former 3-time shuttle astronaut and our Executive Vice President for SNC's Space Systems. If you have any questions, please use the hashtag #AskSNCDreamChaser. We'll take some of those questions as we can at the end of this briefing. We also have some reporters here in the room. Also, you can send a direct text message to our VP of Comms, Brooke Hart. Here's her phone number, 775-313-2824. That's 775-313-2824. For media wanting the new visuals, we'll have an FTP so you can make sure that you get everything. Kicking us off is Janet Kamandi, SNC's Space Systems Executive Vice President. Janet?
That was a very nice introduction, and welcome everyone to SNC today. We have some really exciting news for you. I know that you're hearing a lot in the news these days about space. It's been quite a year, but despite all the issues that we've had socially with COVID and everything, we've managed to stay on track. People are really excited about space, as we are here today. And so we're going to talk a little bit about our future plans in space. You know, Steve and I started at NASA on the same day 26 years ago, and we were in the same astronaut class. We even got to fly in space together. And then here we are today, still working on things that really invigorate us, that we're passionate about. And so what we're about to talk about is something that makes me feel like we're coming to the point in history where we're taking humans, average humans, off the surface of the planet and allowing us to travel in space and to live in space, and it will become part of normal society. And I think we're right at the cusp of that happening. So let's talk about this past year. Good, you can hear me a little bit better now. So Mars, what an amazing event. We had Perseverance land on Mars a couple of months ago in February, actually just last month. And SNC had components on the Mars rover. We were part of the descent application that allowed the vehicle to safely land softly on the surface, so there's no damage to the vehicle. And we have a lot of other components on there, including a component that's deploying the helicopter that will fly very, very shortly. So we're working on everything from these kinds of mechanisms that go on spacecraft that go to other planets, to spacecraft that fly around to aircraft that fly around the world and keep our soldiers safe and our country safe, to now flying in space. So everyone's very familiar with the Dream Chaser vehicle that you see here behind me. We've had a successful drop test with the Dream Chaser, and we are under contract with NASA to fly commercial flights to the International Space Station, commercial resupply flights to the International Space Station. We're due to launch next year. We're building this vehicle actually right behind the model that you see here, and we're well on our way to launching next year. And what we're going to talk about next is what's the next phase. And what the next phase is to create a completely holistic space infrastructure where we plan to launch our vehicles to a platform such as the one you see here with inflatable modules, service it with our own Dream Chaser vehicles, both uncrewed and crewed vehicles, take people back and forth from the space station, and then return them safely back to Earth. So let's watch a video here real quick.
1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2,
So this is our vision, right? To have the full circle launch, take people to the space station, come back, and then land safely on a runway. We can land on pretty much any runway in the world that has 10,000 feet. We can land in any country that can service a 737 aircraft. So we are very flexible on who we launch on and where we land. So this is an application that so far, we're the only company that's providing this. This free flyer is in the answer to NASA's request to provide a commercial platform that could service NASA and the world with future applications in low Earth orbit after the ISS retires. The International Space Station, Steve and I helped build it. It's been up there for a quarter of a century. It's aging. We don't want it to go away. It's a wonderful vehicle. However, at some point, it's just going to age out. It's going to get stress cracks and things and leak. And at some point, it's just not worth and safe enough to keep on orbit. So this is the answer, the commercial answer to that. We plan to launch these new crewed vehicles and this station before the end of the decade. So we will talk more about timing and what comes first and what comes second. But first, I'd like to introduce our chairwoman and president, Erin Osman.
Thank you, Janet. These are exciting times. As you can tell, we are very happy about NASA's direction to build new space stations in LEO. This puts us in a very unique position since we are currently developing a very capable habitat in partnership with NASA. We believe that our habitat is the best solution. It's easy to launch on a standard rocket. It inflates in space. It is very large, modular, and flexible. And we also grow tomatoes, lettuce, and more in our habitat. On top of that, our habitat is designed to travel to the moon and Mars. The demand for space travel is increasing. We believe that the best way to travel to space is with space planes. As a result, we are again in a great position to offer Dream Chaser for space travel. As soon as we start flying next year, Dream Chaser will be capable of bringing astronauts back from space to land at a certified airport. Think about it. If there is an emergency or a health condition where you need to rescue and bring astronauts home, landing them safely at an airport with an immediate access is a big deal. This critical capability does not exist right now. Our goal is to provide a turnkey service in space. Think of us as your space travel agent for the best space experience. We will arrange your space transportation with our Dream Chaser. We will provide your destination with our habitat. And our goal is to serve Michelin-rated meals with space-grown veggies. Another important point is we continue to focus on climate change and to make Earth a better place. We will build on international cooperations to utilize space technologies and make a positive global impact. And of course, Fatih has a lot more to share. Thank you.
Well, Erin, well done. And especially the last part, when you talk about Michelin star food served in space, I am all in. So I can't wait to get there. But the humor aside, we are actually the leaders in growing vegetables in space. And so agriculture in space is real. It's here. So I want to talk about the importance of space and what is happening in the market. Basically, since I started, first of all, it's all about the dreams, right? We have a dream team, we have a dream chaser. So that's where everything starts. So when I started as a young engineer at SNC, chasing my dreams, a long time ago, I never been this excited about the future of space, which really means the future of humanity and future of life, because space is increasingly critical to the humanity and the future of Earth and what's going to happen beyond this current era that we are living in. So in terms of space race and new space age, there's so much going on. The new space economy is taking off, and we are at the inflection point in history. The investments are accelerating, new industries are being created to harness the space, and the launch costs are coming down. So access to space is becoming democratized, and a lot of traditional companies are being disrupted in this race. At the same time, all the technological advances from artificial intelligence to machine learning, biotechnology, 3D printing, and advanced materials are creating major opportunities as business and governments are investing in a new space economy. A significant economic and military competition is emerging that we have to watch, especially with countries like Russia and China. It is amazing that China has been winning the space launch rate race last 3 years in a row. So where does SNC fit in all of this? In this exciting times, we are a market leader. There's $1 trillion space economy is rapidly growing, and the space is now accessible by many commercial companies of all sizes. I am proud to say that we are at the forefront of this paradigm shift taking place. As a market leader, we are positioned so right to play a lead role in disruptive innovation and this commercialization of space activities ongoing. And the reason we became a leader is because our culture is all about innovative entrepreneurship. We all must dream to make the world a better place, and our dreams are becoming reality. We made our American dream come true thanks to all the help that Aaron has given me and the rest of SNC. And we are building a space plane. Our innovations are accelerating at a rapid pace. And there are 3 business models when you look at what's happening today in the market. There's a number of new startups that are ideas, the specs emerging so fast. And secondly, there's an old space traditional companies that are out there, big government prime contractors. And the third, the new space billionaire-owned businesses that have emerged that are really contributed a lot to our commercial space economy. So when you look at SNC, we are the Goldilocks. We have the best of all of these 3 worlds. We are in the sweet spot and perfect position, having all these capabilities. So when you look at what's happening in the commercialization of space, where the B2G, business to government, to rapidly shifting to the B2B and even B2C, to the consumer market, with private astronauts buying seats to space and several other activities taking place. There are more buyers and sellers in the commercial market space than it's ever been in the past. For instance, NASA, a great partner to us, detailed its interest this week in commercial LEO destinations, who are among the many of the participants and potential customers for this market right now. The bottom line is that these are very exciting times in history, and we are prepared to lead this vibrant space economy that's unfolding very rapidly. SNC and its public and private partners are building something altogether new in the history of humanity, that shining city in space. So with that, we have a video that I'll show you, and I'm very excited to be able to share these news with you. Thank you. Thank you. I think, Niraj, you're going next. He's going to make it all happen, everything he promised.
No pressure. Good afternoon, everyone. So as you can see, we've got an extremely exciting concept here for a new space station. One of the things that's really unique about our space station is that it's flexible and modular, and you can see that in the videos, in the models we have, the images you see up on the screen here. There's a lot of different configurations we can do. And we did that on purpose. We've looked at the end users, all the different types of activities we want to take place on this commercial space station, and you can see it in the different images that you see. And the cornerstone to these images, you see there are two major platforms. One being the Dream Chaser system, as you heard about earlier, and the other one being our Life habitat. Our Life stands for Large Inflatable Fabric Environment. Both of these are currently in development with NASA. They're not concepts; they are things that are in development. As you can see, the Dream Chaser behind us, and on the production floor in this building. The Dream Chaser, as Janet mentioned earlier, will be used for both crew and cargo to and from the space station. The Life is the main piece of the system. You can see it on the screen here. It's a very large inflatable habitat that's essentially a 3-story building. So if you think about a 3-story building in space and multiple of those, you can start to understand the amount of space and size capability that this system brings to the market. We originally started developing Life for missions to the moon and missions to Mars, and have expanded it to use in low Earth orbit. The size of this system is also flexible. It gives us a lot of flexibility throughout, and you can see some images here. We're working with some partners at Hassel, which is an architectural firm, to really optimize the different pieces we can do in here. But the flexibility allows us to do all kinds of things, from in-space manufacturing, pharmaceuticals, science research, media and entertainment. All of these different capabilities are what we see as being the markets in the future. And those are just some of the many markets that are out there, including tourism. We're already working with multiple companies in these different areas and developing what the interiors are, what's needed in each one of these interiors. And if there are other companies out there that are interested in using the system, we would be happy to hear from you as well. One of the other things that's really interesting about our system is we use a standard docking capability as well. So any system can come up and use the platform in any way they see fit. The other thing I'll say is I'm excited to announce that we're starting soft goods certification with NASA. As I said, this is in full development. We've been working hand in hand with NASA over the past handful of years here to develop how you would actually certify soft goods for use in space. We are the first ones to go through this new process with NASA, and we're really excited to see that come to fruition. The other thing we're doing is we're sending our large inflatable habitat. We have a ground prototype that we developed and has been at Johnson Space Center. You can see it on the screen here. This has been down at Johnson Space Center doing all kinds of different testing, from crew testing, orbital debris testing, burst, creep, a lot of different types of engineering testing over the last handful of years. We're now moving this system down to KSC to continue testing there in a variety of additional ways, additional crew testing, new types of layouts, integration with all of these different elements. So we're really excited to showcase this to everyone, and I'll hand it over to Steve to talk about Dream Chaser.
Thanks, Neeraj. Well, it's great to be here today, and I appreciate you all you coming out for this. So what I want to talk about is where we are on Dream Chaser, where we're headed, and then I want to wrap it up and put it all together and try to talk you through the opportunity that we're here today to talk to you about. So for Dream Chaser, behind this vehicle here, we have a production floor, and we have the first orbital vehicle in production. If you were to go back there right now, you'd see a whole bunch of folks working on both the the Dream Chaser itself and the cargo module that goes with it. As mentioned before, we're on a contract for 7 missions minimum to the International Space Station. We're going to fly our first mission next year, and we're working toward that goal. The other thing I will tell you is that we have 2 other buildings here in this technology park that are full of hardware and software that are undergoing testing and qualifications. And we have suppliers all over the country and some international that are also working on subsystems, components, doing the final qualifications. They're all going to come here. They'll all go through our facility. We'll get the whole thing built and out for testing next year and fly next year. As we speak, we have thermal protection systems, TPS tiles going on the vehicle, and there's a lot of those, and so we continue that work. And there you can see on the photograph a picture of those tiles being installed. And so we're really excited about the progress. The team is focused on, our theme here is one team, one goal, and it's to get CRS-2 flying and get this vehicle flying as soon as possible. If you go back to the history of this program and where we started at SNC, we started with the crew vehicle. Our initial contracts with NASA, our early development work, the investment the company made was on the crewed vehicle. And actually the flight test article that flew that you can see behind me is actually a crewed version, although it's very similar to the cargo version. In fact, our crew and cargo version are approximately 85% common with each other. As we've worked and focused our team on developing the cargo version for NASA, and that is our focus, we have never lost sight of the crewed vehicle. And as we've designed the cargo vehicle, we've also looked at the lessons learned from our design, manufacturing, production, and testing of the cargo vehicle and applying those lessons learned and updating the crewed vehicle design. So we are well on our way on a crewed vehicle as well that will follow the cargo vehicle. Our intent is to build a crewed vehicle. We were always in business to build a crewed vehicle, and we will build a crewed vehicle following this vehicle once we get things going here. So we're really excited. Team's making great progress, working really hard. We have a cargo vehicle that's we're working hand in hand with NASA. Developing it. We even actually have assessed that in an emergency, I think Aaron mentioned earlier, we could actually take our cargo vehicle with the environmental control system on board and in an emergency land some crew back even from the space station with our existing vehicle today. So everything's going to be human rated, and we're marching along and excited about the progress. So what I want to finish with is kind of wrap up the opportunity and what we're here to talk about today. Neeraj talked about the SNC space station, which is based on the life habitat that we've been working with NASA for several years on contracts on and developing and using our own investment as well. We also have the Dream Chaser, and the Dream Chaser we've been working on since I've been here 10 years ago, and we are just about ready to fly it. We're very close. What's happening at NASA is still operating the space station. Space station's a great capability, but it's going to reach the end of its useful life, probably up by the end of the decade, somewhere around there. And NASA's focusing also on exploration, which we're a part of as well. So with the ISS eventually going away, what is NASA announced last week in the Commercial LEO Destinations program is they want commercial companies to take over and operate a commercial space station for all to use, including NASA, have NASA as one of many customers, and commercialize low Earth orbit. With what Fadi talked about and all of the business things that are happening and all of the people getting involved in space and the price of launch vehicles going down, you have this huge opportunity to do that. What SNC offers is we have a Dream Chaser crewed and cargo version, and we have the SNC space station, which is based on the life habitat. The two of those together form an ecosystem in low Earth orbit. Because we originally designed Dream Chaser from the very beginning to be a commercial vehicle, because we actually saw this coming 10, 15 years ago, we specifically designed Dream Chaser to do things like the ability to land at any runway in the world, because we carry non-toxic fuels. The ability to turn quickly, refurbish quickly, and fly cost effectively. When you add all of those things together, and we take Dream Chaser and we take our space station, we put them together, we see the opportunity for a commercial ecosystem that can potentially service the entire world. So that's the opportunity. The timing is perfect because of all the things that are going on in space, and where NASA is and where our other partners are in their work. And we intend to go there and create this ecosystem in the future before this decade is out. So that's our vision. That's why we're here. That's what we're announcing. That's what we're all really excited about working on. And so we're going to do it. So I'd like to now turn it over to John Roth. And John Roth's our VP of Business Development. And John's going to field any questions that you might have for us. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I get the pleasure of answering questions or passing off questions to the appropriate person. And I think, do we have some coming in from outside as well? Yes, we do. Okay, so we'll take questions from the floor, and if not, we have some questions coming in. Yeah.
Okay, this comes from Michael Sheets of CNBC. How much does SNC expect it to cost to get its space station in orbit by the end of the decade?
So we have done financial modeling, and it's not going to be inexpensive. As you can imagine, it won't be anywhere near what the ISS cost. Obviously, the ISS, I think, combined was a $100 billion cost estimate. But we've come so far in technology, and they were really paving the way before a lot of these technologies even existed. And it took them many, many years to get that up. We now have technologies that are way more advanced than the ISS. It's kind of hard to imagine how long ISS has lasted with the technologies that it has. So we expect to be able to get up a space station at a very small fraction of the price, but it still won't be an inexpensive venture. And we're prepared to invest beside NASA in a public-private partnership to make that happen.
NASAspaceflight.com. You all were kind enough to provide some of us with a tour of the Life module some time ago, and what I remember about it is that it was absolutely enormous. It felt like my house. I'm wondering how much volume is enclosed by this station compared with, say, ISS?
So each of the inflatable habitats is about 300 cubic meters. The ISS, as a trade-off, is about 1,000 cubic meters. So for a 4-habitat version, we have more volume, pressurized volume than the ISS.
This is from Arnie Holmes, editor of American Rocket News. A comment was made that Dream Chaser can be used as a crew return vehicle from ISS. Does that mean that the vehicle will have crew-related eclipse starting on early flights? If so, how long can the vehicle support crew?
So the way the vehicle is designed, there is an environmental control life support system because we have to be able to carry rodents and other live animals back from the space station. So we can make a minor enhancement to the current system that's on there to be able to bring astronauts back from ISS. It would not be a long duration free flying capability. It would be something that would be used for emergency return of crew, but we could do that in very short order using the cargo vehicle that we have now. Questions from the floor?
Yes, Guy Norris from Aviation Week and Space Technology. You mentioned about the NASA initiative that they recently announced last week for the LEO Free Flyer opportunity. Could you say a little bit more about how you would pursue that? Would you actively put in a proposal or bid, or could you sort of say a little bit more about how you would use that as a stepping stone to your dream?
So just to clarify, how we use the NASA bid as a stepping stone to what we're doing? Okay. The NASA bid last week, the call that they did out on the 23rd.
Sure. So we're thrilled that NASA came out with that call under commercial LEO destinations. Many of you may know they started more than a year ago. They were going to bring a contract out under Next Step 2 as an Appendix K, which was going to be a free flyer vehicle. We've actually been working on this concept for more than a year. We were one of the companies that did a commercialization study for NASA almost 2 years ago. And since we did that study, we started looking at what the market opportunity was. We started talking to companies that had concepts for commercializing low Earth orbit, and we decided that there really was a market there, and we were excited to go after it. So we've been waiting for a year for NASA to come out with what they were going to do as an official program. We intend to win one of those awards. We're absolutely convinced we have the right solution for it. So we think that's a great start. I will say that we're a little disappointed in the amount of money NASA wants to put against it and the timeline. We think that there should be much more of a sense of urgency to get a space station up before ISS is retired, because the reality is Congress may decide when they're going to stop funding ISS, but the reality of space may decide when ISS really gets retired. It could have run into an anomaly well before we've decided we want to retire the space station. So we think there's a real urgency for getting a commercial solution up, and we would hope that NASA decides that they will accelerate their current program. Right now they called to get to a preliminary design review stage in 2025, and we think that's just too late, and we believe that we could get up there much quicker.
Okay, next question. What's the latest on timetable for the first flight of Dream Chaser and for space station readiness?
I'm going to let Steve talk to the Dream Chaser readiness. Yeah, you're good. Dream Chaser readiness, the first flight.
Like I said, we're targeting a 2022 flight. Basically, the timeline we're looking at right now is full-scale production of the carbon crew module. This year into next year, we will go and then do full environmental testing next year and prepare it for flight. As far as the actual date that we fly, we're letting the production dictate that. We're focused heavily on schedule, but we want to make sure we do it right. So we're going to, we have a schedule that we're holding to, marching on toward that. And when we fly in 2022 is, we're still kind of working a little bit that out, exactly what that date's going to be. But we'll fly when we're ready. So I'm not going to give you a date today, but it's going to be in 2022, and we are laser focused on that. The second question was what?
Yeah, the second part was the readiness for the space station, the SNC space station.
The readiness for what?
For the space station.
For the SNC space station.
Okay.
So the readiness for the space station. What we want to do is be prepared for the ISS being retired as early as 2028. And NASA has stated, and we agree, they're not going to shut the lights off of ISS and then immediately go to a commercial space station. There is going to want to be some overlap between having a commercial station operating successfully on orbit and when they retire ISS. It's too important to try to do an immediate handoff. So we want to make sure we're up there in time to do a handoff before 2028.
Lee Fingers again. There are a number of modules on the model that are not Life, Shooting Star, or Dream Chasers. They're cylindrical in shape, but they look a little like station modules or MPLMs. Can you tell us a little about what they are, who's developing them, that kind of thing?
Yeah, and maybe Neeraj can answer this. So he's asking about the extra parts and nodes and modules that are connected that aren't Dream Chaser, Shooting Star, or the Habitat.
Sure, I can answer that. So what those are, you see, like you said, the cylindrical portions there, modules. Those are nodes that are connecting the different elements together. They also allow for some of the docking capability I talked about. And there's some vehicles that provide some of the needed capabilities from solar arrays and communications. So those are kind of the two elements that are there. We're already working with partners on developing those systems. It does, because of the flexibility of those systems, we're also able to extend the number of people we're working with on the station. We expect this to be a much larger effort than just SNC. So we're bringing in partners to help with those areas.
Yeah, I think if I could add a couple of things to that. So, it's more than just for people. It's more than just habitats. You have to have enough nodes that you have enough vehicles going up there supporting those people. In particular, you have to have a rescue seat for each crew member that's up on this space station. So that's what the nodes are for. Plus, you have to have nodes for the logistics to go with it. But to Neeraj's point, we're talking about a commercial space station, and we're trying to partner with companies, a lot of different companies, to do that. We're looking at all kinds of other things, international opportunities, you name it. We're very interested in doing that, and we want a coalition to do this. And we also want, since we'll be providing services, we also want, if there are other people that have other vehicles that want to go up to the space station and use the services, we want to provide opportunities for them. That's why the importance of it being modular, which means we can support different orbits. If you want, if the demand in the future says we need 2 stations in 2 different orbits, we can do that because we're so modular with it. And the standard docking systems and standard interfaces that Neeraj mentioned is key, so that other people, if they come to the station, they can do it too. So we're really looking at this big picture, not just SNC stuff.
Okay, next question. This comes from Nick. How much of the technology for the crew Dream Chaser will be validated on the cargo Dream Chaser?
Okay, that's a good question. We see about 80% commonality between the cargo vehicle and the crew vehicle. And we have maintained an existing agreement with NASA. The CCICAP Space Act agreement has been extended, was extended back when we were not selected for crew, to allow us to continue development of the crew vehicle in cooperation with NASA. And we continue to have reviews with NASA. So we never gave up on the crew vehicle. Dream Chaser was always meant to be a crew vehicle, and we always intended to complete it. And we've never given up, and we've continued to work on it the entire period.
Go ahead.
Lee Fingers again. Last time I was here, there was some discussion about whether or not the crewed version of Dream Chaser would have windows or not. I believe this argument goes back to the 1960s. Has that been settled?
All right, how do I answer this one? I will tell you with 100% certainty that the crewed version of I think your question, what you're really asking is, will you have windows out front for the pilots to land it? And that's the part we haven't decided yet. But it will have windows. I mean, if you think about it, if you put people up on orbit, they're not going to want to be on orbit in a vehicle that has no windows. From my shuttle experience, windows were great out the front, but from my experience, first of all, they're heavy. The thermal protection system closeouts are difficult on a lifting body, only because it sees so much heat up front on entry. And then my other experience from shuttle, gosh, I spent more than 2 months on that vehicle and in space, and the vast majority of the time on orbit, we didn't use the front windows. We used the back windows. And so for sure we're going to have windows. I would prefer to have the windows, for sure have those windows in areas that are not hot sections for entry. Whether we have windows in front is still a TBD. I can tell you one of the things that our company works on is something called Enhanced Vision System. It enables things like helicopters to land in the blind or in a dust storm. We're actually working with one of our other groups at SNC to develop that for things like lunar missions, and developing it for potential use on our crewed Dream Chaser in the future. So with the advent, the way technology is going, if you're familiar with NASA, they have a program called X-59 right now that's testing, it's a supersonic aircraft that they're testing to eliminate shock so that you can do supersonic transport without creating a bunch of shock waves and blowing windows out like I used to do back in the old days. If you look at that vehicle, it has no forward visibility at all for the pilot, and all the pilot's landing is all synthetic vision through displays. And so with technology, we want to take advantage of the technology. We want to do what's right. First and foremost, providing the crew situational awareness and the ability to land safely. How's that? All right.
Space America with a question about the space station configuration. What is the plan for the initial number of modules, and would SNC allow other companies to attach their modules to the station? Sorry.
I like that question because it allows me to point out some things about the station. One of the things I wanted to point out is when we say it's modular, you might wonder, what do you mean by it's modular? And what we mean by that is we've designed it so that we can incrementally add capability. If you look at ISS, it has a solar array farm that powers the entire space station. The way we've designed our space station is that each habitat has the capability of carrying what we call a service module that not only has the power but has the station keeping. And each of those elements, those two together, can be launched on a single launch on a commercial launch vehicle with a 5-meter fairing. So very different on how the space station was constructed. We could have an entire habitat with its power source and with its station keeping all on one commercial launch. And it means that in orbit, on a single launch, we could get all the elements that we needed for an initial capability of 6 people in orbit. So that's incredible to be able to do on a single launch. So what we're looking at as the commercial demand increases, and that will be NASA obviously will be a user, other international space agencies will be users, countries that have never been able to go to the ISS will be users, because now they'll have an opportunity to have their own astronauts. And then you're going to have manufacturing and pharmaceuticals and people wanting to do things that you never even thought of doing in space, they're going to want to do in space. So we wanted to make sure that we could easily grow this capability from 1 node to a dozen nodes if we needed to. So the whole idea, it's a commercial operation. We're going to scale the operation to meet the market.
And one thing to add on to that is we're showing a 4 habitat configuration, but again, and I mentioned it before, but in terms of customer demand, you may have customers that want a different orbit, and that you may in the future there may be some manufacturing applications that actually don't even want people on it because they want a pristine microgravity environment. You may have other areas where you want to build a hotel and you have tourists when the launch vehicle prices go down and you want to focus on that. So it could be you end up with smaller stations, multiple stations in different orbits to service. The ISS right now is in a 51.6 degree orbit. That's primarily there in that orbit so that everybody who flies rockets there, which is the US, Japan, Europe, and Russia, can reach it based on their launch sites. That's why it's in 51.6 degree orbit. In the future, it may be a 39 degree orbit or a due east 28.5 degree orbit, so that you can get more up mass into orbit. So we're showing this notionally, but really we're going to let the demand drive exactly how we do this.
And one part of that question that we didn't answer, although we show all life nodes connected right here, we absolutely are going to be able to dock other things, other companies' products to the node. If there's a company that wants to do manufacturing in space and they want to develop their own manufacturing facility that would attach to our space station, absolutely. We're using the International Docking Standard. The whole reason is we want customers to come and use our space station. We can provide power, we can provide environmental control life support, we can provide communications, we can provide the infrastructure so they don't have to build that into their node, but absolutely they can connect their node. If a foreign country like the European Space Agency or JAXA would like to attach their own node to the space station, absolutely. We're happy to do that. We'll provide services. We want to be an open marketplace. We really see a commercial LEO economy. It's not just SNC. It's everybody that's going to help create this LEO economy.
Okay, we have 2 questions from Stephen Clark of Spaceflight Now. First one, very observant, Stephen. Can you clarify the number of Dream Chaser cargo missions under contract with NASA? Someone said there are 7. I thought the original CRS-2 contract was for a minimum of 6.
So currently we have 7 with NASA. So that's where we stand. We hope to get many more in the future, but right now we have 7 with NASA. That was the only part of the question?
That was an easy answer.
All right, good.
Second question from Stephen. Can someone discuss in more detail when the ground prototype for the space station will arrive at KSC? Where will it be placed at KSC and what testing will be accomplished there?
So the ground prototype is actually this is we speak in JSC and way over KSC. So about the next about month and a half or 2 months, it will be up and operational at KSC. The additional testing we're doing are things around what we're talking about here, looking at operations for use in low Earth orbit, different types of configurations, outfitting, those types of pieces are part of the testing we're doing. We also have a lot of other mock-ups and a lot of other components down at at KSC, and specifically it's going to the SSPF. We have multiple bays there where we're doing assembly or final integration for our Cirrus 2 flights. So we have our cargo modules, our Shooting Star modules, our Dream Chaser systems are down there as well. So we can do integrated testing with all of these different pieces there at the same time.
Thanks, Neeraj. Okay, next question from Irene Klotz. Is SNC dependent on NASA funding for space station, or will it pursue independent of NASA?
As I said, we've been looking at this space station and doing some development over more than a year. And we do intend to move forward, but we think it should be a public-private partnership. One of the reasons is NASA is going to instill some requirements for NASA astronauts to be on the space station. I'm sure they're not going to just let any commercial company put up anything that they want and start putting NASA astronauts on board. So if they're going to impose some requirements, which we obviously are perfectly fine with, then it should be a public-private partnership. There should be NASA investment. They should be helping us to qualify that space station for use by NASA. So we definitely think it should be a partnership.
Okay, but also we realize that NASA is going to be one of the customers. So we are going to make a significant investment to turn this into a commercial platform. And we welcome both investments and other partners to come and join. So it's going to be a kind of a coalition kind of a type thing. Thank you.
Okay, next question. This is for Aaron and Fadi over text message. You've stayed pretty private over the years. Do you intend to be more visible now?
No.
Who wants to go first? You want to give the microphone? Sorry. You can stand up too if you want to.
Okay. All right. I think, let's see, I think.
Okay, yep.
Yes. I got the feeling those days are over now, and we need to just be more public. We are prepared because when we see the potential, what's going on, and the things that we offer, we realize that there's a lot of interest, and also inspiring the next generation is a very big deal to us, and we are prepared to just spend more time with you guys in public. Thank you.
What lessons learned, design lessons have you learned as a result of the testing that's been going on at JSC under the Next Step program? Have you been able to see things that you can already improve with the potential first production version or the pioneering space station version? Thanks.
Sure. So we've done a lot of different types of testing, and yes, we've learned quite a bit. We've done things like crew testing, where we've had the actual NASA crew go in and evaluate it for day in the life and do operations in there. So we got very valuable feedback of some of the configuration and what you would need to do in orbit. So we're applying those. We've also done testing on the orbital debris shields. And what thickness of those need to be accomplished for different environments. So we've completed a lot of that. We've also done burst and creep testing on different size articles, not the full scale, but a smaller scale articles. What that has taught us is quite a bit about the structural integrity of the system. Our creep test went significantly longer than we expected, so we're very confident in the system. But any of the small pieces that we found through testing, we're updating those and doing those in the certification systems.
This comes from Marcia Smith of Space Policy Online. What is the pad abort and launch abort system for crewed Dream Chaser? Janet, this one for you.
Well, Steve's probably the best one to answer, but for the crewed version, and that's what we're asking, the launch abort capability, right? So the crewed board, let's start with the uncrewed version. It will be inside a fairing on launch. So it will be protected. Once it gets to orbit, the fairing will open and the Dream Chaser will emerge. For the crewed version, for launch abort capability, the vehicle will not be faired. So it will be on top of the rocket. It will not have wings that fold. And then in the event of an emergency, this vehicle will be able to separate from the rocket and then safely land back at the launch site, so the Kennedy launch site, assuming we're launching from there. Steve, what did I mess up? What do you want to add?
So the question was
the launch abort capability.
Launch abort capability. So this is where we've learned from the cargo system into the crewed system is our original crewed system was just the Dream Chaser, essentially battery-powered vehicle designed to go back and forth to the space station. Our new crewed system that we've been working on actually includes the cargo module. Now what's going to be different is, as Janet said, it'll be unfaired just like the crewed vehicle, and that allows you to escape the rocket. But there's two things we need to do. The first one is to safely separate from the rocket at any time during launch and ascent. That's the first piece. And the second piece, for an ISS, a mission inclined or at the same orbital inclination as the ISS, an ability with sustainer motors to, after we separate from the rocket, have enough thrust to turn the corner, land up the East Coast in all cases, and never have to bail out of the vehicle. So our system includes both of those things. So we have a way to separate essentially from the cargo module at any time, from sitting on the pad all the way up till we're almost in orbit, and then enough thrust to be able to turn the corner and land at an East Coast site. And so those are the elements of the abort, and then the testing that we'll do is we'll likely follow NASA certification requirements, including things like a pad abort, an in-flight, and an in-flight abort to verify that system before we fly people on it.
Thank you. Last time I was here, you announced Vulcan for launching Dream Chaser cargo missions. Do you expect the same for this? Is it also launch vehicle agnostic? Can you discuss that?
Yeah, so both our SNC space station, habitat-based space station, and Dream Chaser continue to be launch vehicle agnostic. I think John Roth mentioned that part of why we designed the inflatable is we wanted to, and by the way, the program started, we still continue, we're working on the deep space habitat for the Gateway, Mars Transit Hab, but we designed our system intentionally from the beginning to be able to launch under a standard 5-meter fairing. Same with Dream Chaser. And by doing that, it actually opens us up to fly on any rocket. So we're launch vehicle agnostic. We can fly on any launch provider that has the 5-meter fairing and the lift capacity to keep us. We intend to keep that design throughout. And what's really exciting, and one of the enablers of this commercial market about, is the fact that launch have gone down. As a result of that, every single launch vehicle provider is designing and building or are now flying new rockets as a result. We want to take advantage of that. We may have customers in the future go to our space station that may want to, or fly our Dream Chaser that may want to have a say in what launch vehicle they launch on. And we want to make sure that we provide that opportunity and provide that flexibility for anybody who wants it.